pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, pretty good. Running late.
Okay, there's a seat back behind you, or there's two over here if you want to be close.
Probably got more upset about this one.
See my bud?
Roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Boring.
Here.
Mr. Welch.
Here.
Mr. Mason.
Here.
We're gonna change a little bit. We're gonna hold the minutes to the end to discuss that stuff, so we're gonna go right into guests.
The only thing I have, over the last, I think it was probably maybe 3 months ago, there was some questions, Paul had asked me about, just wanted to get our input on who pays into OPERS and who doesn't, and she wanted some guidance on that. And, so that was, then we talked about, EMS pays into OPERS and fire pays into Social Security. And, Jenny had talked to OPERS, a rep from there, and she was forwarded the management structure, and that, like, functionally how we're doing it's fine. The only thing that they found was in the section 10 employee compensation, I'll pass this to you, it references OPERS and the part-time firefighter. It just needs to be changed to say Social Security. We're already doing that. It's just probably when I was copy and pasting it when we made this. OPERS got put in that, so I'll forward that or pass that around. But then the other change that she had a question on, and we might as well change, is like lieutenant and captain. I guess that's it. The rank of lieutenant and captain needs to be changed to where it says fire captain and fire lieutenant, because it could create confusion that it might be an EMS position, even though in that it says you have to hold the certification of part-time firefighter or volunteer firefighter. So while we're making those changes, we might as well put fire ahead of fire lieutenant and fire captain. But just basically semantics is all it is.
That's from the handbook.
That's from our management structure. I just printed it off before I came up here, but I'll make the changes in that, and then I'll send it to Jenny, and if she just wants to forward to you guys and the rep to make sure those are the changes she wants.
Yeah.
And then we can vote on it next month probably.
The next meeting would have to do an amendment to what we already have.
Yeah. But
She need that.
I've already got one thing.
yeah, I didn't send it back or anything, but I think that's the only change that we need. That's all I had.
All right. Mike?
I got the run count from last month. For April of 24, we had 10 fire responses. We didn't have any mutual aid fire runs last month. We had 4 motor vehicle accidents. The dive team got called to Wood County twice. Our guys recovered both of the drowning victims in Wood County. EMS called last month was 34. We had 1 mutual aid EMS call last month, and we had 2 Marietta Memorial emergency runs per the contract. And the only other thing I got, Kurt, and I don't know whether you want to hold off on that or not, but I've got 3 applicants for volunteer firemen, unpaid positions. I wanted to run them by you before we try to go any further. I can give you the applications, you guys can look at them, and
Yeah.
then
That'd probably be the best.
Is it something you need to know tonight, or
Not necessarily, I need to know before the next business meeting though.
when's your next business?
It'd be the second
Okay.
Wednesday of the
So
month.
we probably better do that tonight.
That's Wednesday, yeah.
Hmm.
The day after tomorrow, yeah.
All right.
I'm just here.
Just here?
I wanna talk to you, and
Okay.
give you the money for, we'll be using the new building,
Yep, I'll get with you. Yeah, I'll get with you afterwards.
okay.
We'll take care of that.
And I wanted to tell Ace that the garden club did buy the coffee pot. We will be using it Saturday, and we'll just leave it at the building if that's okay.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, look at me.
okay.
Okay.
Good? Mark?
Oh,
Okay. Bill? Nothing?
Here to see smiling faces.
no, sir.
Okay, well, I'll say something. My name is Carol Morgenstern, and I live down on Terry Lane. And my husband passed away just about 10 days ago, Glenn Ray, and he had Lewy body dementia. And when he was diagnosed with it, the doctor said the best thing he could do was to exercise, exercise, exercise. So, and that was the beginning of COVID. So our favorite thing to do was to walk to this park and, you know, hike around the trails and do the perimeter and go down by the ponds and back to the rock shelter. He just absolutely, and me too, loved being able to come here, and are so grateful that Mr. Baker donated this property as a park. The other thing he loved too, because we have riverfront property behind our house, is that he canoed the river, and he was proud to say that he had canoed it straight 12 months a year, never missed a month, for 25 years. Which is like, who cared but him? But he thought that was pretty cool, and he liked to show that. When his dementia got bad enough, he quit doing it. But he absolutely loves that river. His daughter doesn't think it's quite as wonderful as he does, but what I was hoping and would like to do is to have a memorial for him here at the park, so that we could be down near the river that he loves so much, and just have, you know, whoever can make it, and I have no idea, it's really just for, you know, neighbors who knew him. He was one of the first to live in that, you know, on Terry Lane in that development, and that was before I arrived on the scene. So he's seen, you know, people come and go off that neighborhood, and, you know, invite neighbors and some of, you know, his colleagues and people he knew, my friends, to come here and really celebrate with, you know, his life down by the river. Of course, we have no idea what the weather could be like. So my other question was, is there any possibility that you would rent this building so that if we needed to be inside, we'd have some shelter? I don't know how many people will come. I know everybody's busy this time of year and there's lots going on. It's only gonna be for a few hours. And originally I was thinking like the 26th of May, but then I realized that's Memorial Weekend, and that's probably not the best weekend. People are gonna probably be busy with things, and they'll never be the perfect weekend anyway. But and I know they used to do some things here in the park for families and kids too. At one time I thought fishing in the pond or something. So I'm thinking now probably June 2nd, the following Sunday. And I don't know if that's a possibility to, you know, have access to this building or not for just a few hours. I'm thinking probably 3 at the max, like maybe 2 to 5 or 1 to 4, something like that. Like I said, in case the weather is not great, or, you know, the other thing I would love for you guys to do is to get some sort of bathroom facility here in the park, because that's always a little bit, you know, difficult when you're out hiking around and Mother Nature calls. But I also know that can be a lot to manage as well when you start putting in facilities like that. So that's really why I'm here, is to make that request and see if there's any possibility in having this space for just a little while for that celebration, and how you feel about that.
Well,
I think we have the community building you can rent.
But I wanna be on the property,
We have the shelter outside,
right, the one with picnic tables?
yeah,
Right,
yeah, but the
Right.
building, to me, I think kinda needs to be closed up. I don't think we could, have something like that, but.
well,
I'm
and we would
all for
definitely, you know,
using
use,
the shelter
yeah, use
out
the park
there.
facilities that are available, and absolutely, we would do that, like I said, it's like, who can predict the weather at this point?
Right.
And to have a place that might have a little more, you know, covering, people could get inside if needed to, or have a bathroom to use if they needed to. So,
I'm not in favor of starting out here.
None.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, I don't think that's something we would, it being that this is our office where we conduct our business, we would try to limit the people in the building. You know.
Of course, the shelter out here and everything, you're welcome to that, so
Yeah,
I'm not
it's-
concerned, but.
right, I know, cause that's public, for public use.
Yep.
So, yeah, we would definitely
Yeah.
use that as needed.
And the building's not available the second it's rented. It's rented the first, I think. Got my book in the vehicle, I think Jenny has it, but you got it the first, is that right?
No, I canceled with you a month or so ago. Cause I know,
Or maybe it must have been, yeah, I think you did somebody else.
I think it's pretty busy now.
Yeah. I think the only day open in June is
Yeah,
Father's Day, maybe.
yeah, I really want to, be down by the river where he
Yeah, yep.
loves so much in that field, and, you know, we can still be down there.
But if you wanna take easy ups and stuff like that, I don't have a problem with that. You
You mean
guys,
like-
you know, tent,
Yeah,
you know,
okay,
tent like
okay,
things
and we
and,
may do that, just so
Um,
that there's some covering.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot that there's enough trees down there, that there's some shade, I drove down there a little, earlier today, and went, oh, there are a lot of trees out here for shade, cause that was part of it, it's a really hot day too, then, you know, it's like, oh, people are
Right.
suffocating, but yeah, that might be, an added possibility too, is to put up some kind of tent for shelter and that, yeah.
Okay.
How would you feel about a porta potty? I think if they do that, they have to do it like from a Friday, pick it up Monday kind of thing, so I mean,
I wouldn't be opposed if you wanted to put a
On-
porta potty down there for the weekend, you know.
Well, they've done it before, we've had other groups do that before.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want people destroying it either, and then it's on my shoulders, but, I didn't know if that was.
Yeah, when the, people had the kids down there for fishing derby, they had a porta
Yeah,
potty
okay.
down there.
Okay, cause that might be in another,
We'll
fix that problem.
I don't see any problem with that.
okay, alright, I appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Hey Kurt, real quick, I might as well mention also, the social is a go still, and, sounds like we got word back from the township insurance that fireworks were acceptable, according to Jeremiah, so that, right now, we're planning on having fireworks also, so.
Okay.
That's pending getting enough sponsorship to be able
Yeah.
to purchase them.
Which, and what was
So
your
July
date again, Josh?
27th.
July 27th, yep.
July 22nd.
4 o'clock is the parade start time, just like it always has been.
Okay.
We've got, a band lined up from, I believe it was 6 to 9, and then the fireworks will probably shoot for 9:45 or 10, just because that time of year, it doesn't get dark till 9:20 or so. All right. What business, Ace?
I don't have any more business. I wasn't here last meeting, so I don't have any.
Dean?
only thing I have is the dumpsters are done. I think we had almost 400 customers. I think it went pretty well this year. And that's all I got.
Okay. I think I got
had anything on that, on the April 8th minutes, as far as old business, we'll talk about those at the end.
You've got the rocks and I really like them, and the people like them.
They're still driving back in there.
Not many. I did have one handicapped lady ask if she drove back. But the other day I did go by and there was 3 cars back here. But,
I went by there today, there were 20 vehicles
Oh,
back in there.
I didn't see that one.
They're coming in down the other end and driving out around.
Wow, I didn't see that one.
It wasn't during ball game, it was during ball practice. They was, I guess,
I don't know.
had to get the kids close to the ball field. They couldn't park in the parking lot. I don't know. So, we're probably gonna have to address that issue down the road. New business, Ace.
I've got several things I want to talk about. First of all, I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution to allow full-time employees to use their accumulated hours, either vacation or sick, for paid time off if a family emergency occurs in their immediate family. An immediate family is wife or children. But the employee must maintain at least 8 hours sick time.
How many, 80? 80.
Can you repeat that again?
I'm making a motion to pass a resolution that full-time employees shall be able to use their accumulated hours, either vacation or sick hours, for paid time off if a family emergency occurs in their immediate family. The immediate family being wife or children. Well, spouse, change that to spouse. We could have a lady working for us too. And the employee must maintain a minimum of 80 hours sick time.
So I want to open this up for discussion before we get a second. Because I think what you're referring to is the county stuff. So, the county has a sick policy, and they can transfer hours. Employees can. Kevin could transfer hours to Mark. Mark could transfer hours to Kevin, or vice versa. The county's policy is, and I'll give you a copy of this. This is what I'd like to see us adopt. Because I like the part that you have, but this also adds in about being able to transfer hours. And it says they have to maintain a balance of 80 hours.
So you're making an amendment to my motion, or what are you doing?
Well, I opened it up for discussion, so I would like to see us add that part to that, you know. Basically, look at this here and kind of adopt what the county has guidelines that they come up, because it's basically the same thing that you just said, other than they have some other, you know, because it talks about serious health conditions, and then it talks about the hours of transfer.
Well, you're adding more stuff in there.
Yeah.
I'm not,
I mean, we don't have
I'm not
to,
in favor of part of it. The part
Yeah.
says parent, that's pretty broad.
okay,
That's parent or biological parent or an individual who stands in place of a parent. You could have different interpretations, and I'm not in favor of that part of it. I don't have any problem with trading hours.
mhm. That's the only thing really that I'd like to see us add to your motion.
Well, I'll add that to my motion then, that employees can trade hours if one has a bunch of hours, or the other one doesn't have that?
They're trading sick time and vacation,
Just sick
or
time.
just sick time?
The sick time.
Not likely that they're gonna trade vacation time.
Yeah, the county will let them trade up to, they have to maintain 80 hours
For
of sick
themselves.
time for themselves,
Okay.
yes.
But now this motion is for emergencies only. The 2-day rule, if you're off 2 days sick, that still applies.
Right.
Like we always.
What is the 2-day rule?
If an employee misses 2 days sick, then he needs a doctor's excuse to come back to work. He or she.
Any more discussion on that?
Yeah, I'd like to see both of them. This is the first I've heard of this.
I called the county about it.
Is this something that needs to be done today? Are we getting close with anybody?
Can't say, Dan.
Or mix them,
I don't see any reason to put it off.
I can't say,
mix them
Dan.
together to, come up with something of yours, and, this is the first time I've seen this.
Well, I'm okay with what Ace has got, as long as we add that we can transfer, which has come off of there before.
Yeah, I don't have a problem.
We don't have to adopt the rest of the stuff they had.
Can I make a comment on that? When you guys are calling it trading, it makes it sound like it's being tied to one employee giving someone else of other value for that. I would call it probably a donation of sick leave.
Right.
That's what it is. It's a,
Right.
yeah, it's not,
Yeah, when you're calling it trading,
not
it makes
trading,
it sound
it's-
terrible.
yeah. So it, basically, if you was sick and you had sick time working
Right.
for us, and
So I actually work for the county. I actually just donated some sick time to somebody. So
Yeah.
we had a girl that had a child and she had a lot of complications and she had worked there less than a year, so didn't have very much sick time. So
Right.
I was able to donate her some of my sick time.
right.
And then you don't
And
get
that's,
that back.
yeah, and that's what we want to be able to do for our 2 full-time employees, because they're the only ones that get sick days.
Kurt, do we have sick payout if someone leaves?
There's I don't know what it is, because it was done long before I ever come, but there is some kind of a payout. Do you know, Mark, what it is offhand? It's not for all of it. So if Mark retired today, he would lose a lot of his sick time. He couldn't take that,
But he would get some payout.
some of it. I can't tell you what it is. Is it 6 weeks? Yeah.
6 weeks, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
There's a percentage of it I know, but I can't tell you what it is.
The Overs lady was asking me that today about vacation and sick.
Yeah.
Because they needed to know about that.
And vacation's payable.
Vacation.
Vacation is payable.
Yeah.
Yeah, vacation.
Yeah, and then part of, I don't know what the percentage is that they had done years ago, what they had decided. I just always know that there's something, just never knew what it was.
So you wanna add,
To what he done, I wanted to add the hours of transfer.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I wanna talk a little bit about some of the grants. Goes back a ways, but I think some of the folks should know this. I think everybody should know it, but a lot of people don't. But several years back, after we got the park, the other trustees ahead of me had bought the property down there for the park. And, but anyway, I applied for a Nature Works grant. And I got a $35,000 grant for the picnic shelter. And then applied later for a grant for the walking track and a basketball court. And went through a lot of paperwork, and they came down, checked everything out, said everything was okay, but it got turned down. So I went to their meeting, I said, why'd you turn me down? He said everything was okay. They said, well, you gotta buy property. I said, nobody told me that. So anyway, the school had a 2.5 acre piece of ground back there that they used for a outdoor lab. And I got with with David Barrett, who was the superintendent of schools at that time, and I said, would you sell us that piece of property? And he said, we need money. He said, we need to have some money to buy a piece of property for the soccer field out at the high school. I said, how much do you need? He said, $40,000. So I put in the application and added $40,000 to it and gave it to me. For 2.5 acres of ground, we gave the $40,000 to the high school, they got their soccer field. So that was one of the grants. Then, later on, out here, this riverfront park right here, Greg Baker called me, and they had found out about a grant through Green Space and wanted to know if Belpre Township would take on the park if they could get the grant or if we could get the grant. And so he wanted me to work on it. I started working on it. It went on for quite some time. I worked with several different people. Started working with a guy from Cleveland and met with him and the committee different times. Then he gave me off to a guy in Washington, D.C., and I worked with him for a while. Anyway, they finally appraised this property at something over $900,000. I don't remember exactly what it was. There was a 25% match that had to go along with getting this property for the township. And I said, we can't do that. Greg said, well, we'll take that 25% off of the total rent and count that as the 25%, so we can sell the farm to Green Space and then you can get it for $1. Well, that's the way it went. So they got 700 and some, Baker family got 700 and some $1,000, and they gave up approximately $250,000 as the 25% match. Well, after we got control of the property, I applied for another grant, and I got $55,000 to upgrade the roadway to the river and put in a boat ramp, concrete the shelter out here. There wasn't any concrete in that shelter, and bought, I think, 7 picnic tables and benches to put out. So we've got quite a bit of money in grant money. And then when we talked about the community building, Kurt and Paula worked on that grant more than, I was a little bit involved, but not as much. But anyway, there was a $150,000 grant. Well, not quite. 147,000 something came through on that to help build that community building. And sometime in March, I applied for a $100,000 grant through Nature Works to resurface the walking track. And then I applied for another grant to pave in front of the community building and do all of that stuff down there. So what I'm building up to is, I think I've earned my keep. And I want to get around to some reimbursement. Back a few, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, whenever, the insurance was getting to the point that was pretty darn high, and I said I can go on supplemental insurance. But at that time, my insurance through the township was paying for my copay. And I don't remember how much the bill was to the township, but it said, when I went on to the supplemental, I think my insurance total was around $8,000. And before that, the township was paying 16 or 17. I don't remember exactly what it was. And it's went up to the point now to where I think Dan's insurance is 28,000. And if Mrs. Young goes on it, hers will be, have you signed up for that?
No, sir, I have insurance, I don't need it.
If she goes on it, that'll be about the same. So what I'm saying is, in the last couple of years compared to what Dan's insurance is and what mine is, I've saved the township at least $40,000 in the last 2 years. Just on the insurance. Because I know if I would go back on that insurance, it would probably be a lot more than Dan's because of my age. Anyway, when I did that, Dan made a motion that I shouldn't lose any money. And it was gonna pay for my copay. Curdy seconded it, and it passed. And Mrs. Young has decided or found that that wasn't legal. I don't know whether that's not legal or whether paying for copay is illegal. And that's not really, that isn't decided yet. Nicole Coyle's gonna be at our next meeting. She's the prosecuting attorney. And she's gonna be at our next meeting and we're gonna talk about it then because I don't think she knows the whole story. And I don't believe it's illegal because the motion was made and seconded and passed. And I don't believe that Dan would have signed the checks for my reimbursement if it was illegal. I don't believe Kurt would sign my checks if it was illegal. I don't believe Paula would have written the checks if it was illegal. Everything was done in good faith. So what, Mr. Young, what I would like you to do, if you find how much reimbursement I've received, if you can bring that to the next meeting, and if the prosecutor says that what we did is wrong, I will repay Belpre Township every penny I got.
I will do that.
That was it's not a whole lot. I don't know what it was, but some months it would be $14 or $15, and some months it would be 60 or 70. But anyway, I don't think there was anything at all illegal about what happened there. And like I said, if any of the three of them, Kurt or Dan or Paula, had thought it wasn't right, they wouldn't have signed the check. I've got one other thing, I believe. Back during the pandemic, we received quite a bit of money from the ARPA program from the federal government. And at that time, we could have lost that money in different directions. We could have given, I think you said $25,000, you said one time, to each employee for working.
A full-time employee.
A full-time employee for working. And the government was giving people $600 a week to stay home. Well, our guys worked through it. We took the majority of that money and gave it to the fire department, which was approximately $150,000. I'm not sure how much. Because they were the ones out here fronting all the sickness and everything else and making all the runs. And they needed it, we thought, worse than our employees did. and they used that for safety equipment and cleaning supplies, and I don't know what all, but anyway, it was put to good use, I'm sure. And our guys worked through that, never complained, did what they had to do. And later on, another $35,000 was given to the fire department for continuing to have good employees and continuing to work. So I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution awarding Kevin Holder and Mark Eichert, who are both full-time employees of Belpre Township, a bonus of $17,500 each for their work through the pandemic and for continuing to work for Belpre Township through this mess we've made of ourselves here in the last while. But anyway, they've done their job, they've been faithful employees, and I'm making that motion.
Discussion, Dave?
How much was that?
$17,500 each. We gave the fire department $35,000. I think our guys are worth that.
Any other discussion?
I think that's awful high.
I'll second.
What fund will this come from?
That will come from the interest we've made on the STAR account, which is not directly township taxpayers' money. I don't know if you know, probably some of you know, some of you don't, but a while back we invested in the Star Ohio account, and it's making us darn good money. I don't remember now, the last figures, do you know that?
I do know that, and I do know that Nicole Coyle told me that we are not permitted to decide which fund that money goes back into.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, it's in the general fund.
Yeah.
It's in the general fund,
Because
so it'll come out of the general fund. but it'll
Yeah,
be-
it has to go to the general fund, but
Because in the minutes it stipulated, when you guys discussed that, I don't know when that was, I don't remember, but it said in the minutes that this much money was taken out of fire, this much money was taken out of, general, I don't remember all the different funds. And then it was said in the minutes that that is where the interest would go back into those accounts. And Nicole said, no, it can't.
no, it can't. There's certain funds it can go into, and there's certain funds that it can't.
Yeah, that's what she said.
At the time we just assumed that it could go back into the accounts it was taken out of, but that's not, the money can go back, but the interest off that money has to go into
Right.
the general, not only the general fund, there is some other funds that it can go into. I don't know exactly which ones they are, but some of them that we took money out of, it couldn't go back into.
1,593,001.49 is the balance.
1,593,000.
593,001, and then the interest for the month of April was 71,1287.
Yes, we've made 93,000 since we put it in just about a year ago.
Year
Okay,
to
right.
date, year to date this year's 28,638.
It was, I don't know, April maybe when we put it in last year. So we've made about 93,000 in a year, roughly. Just a ballpark.
Kirk, can I make a clarification on Mr. Bourne's comments? Just for anybody that's wondering about the ARPA funds or the 35,000, those didn't go to individual members of the fire department. They went to.
I didn't say they did.
Right, I know, you just used the term fire department. I just want to make sure everybody understood that it wasn't payouts to any of us individually, it was,
Right.
the ARPA funds were put into an account within the township to buy COVID relief stuff, and then the 35 was the association.
I said safety equipment.
Yeah, that was right. I just, in case anybody was curious about that, it wasn't individual
But
payouts.
it did not go to the individual.
So are you all in favor on
Is
that?
this to be, I guess I still have a couple questions. Is this to be paid at one time?
Yes, and I'd like the checks made tonight.
And, well, is it legal to give that big of a bonus to,
You guys gave a $35,000 bonus.
what's that?
You guys gave a $35,000 bonus to the fire department.
Paid over 5 years.
Will make a difference? From what Nicole put in the email, that we could sign a bonus and we could set the amount,
Correct.
and I just did.
And I can tell you, I won't sign that check until I speak with Nicole.
Any more discussion, Dan?
So all in favor?
No. No.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Any other new business, man? Ace?
Let me look here. Nope, that's it.
All right, Dan, new business?
Yeah, I need, 20, I need to make a motion. We need to buy 20 concrete bases for military markers in cemeteries. They're about $20 each, and it comes from Tri-State Vault Company.
Second that.
That's a motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Anything else?
Nope, that's all I got.
Alrighty. Jenny, you sent me a copy of our bill for our address so I could get our stuff straightened out, that sewer bill.
A copy of
You,
what?
you,
I'm
you
sorry.
sent me this copy of this sewer bill, you emailed that to me
Yeah.
the other day.
Yeah, you
So,
you wanted a copy of the
Yeah,
utility
yeah,
bill. Mhm.
so I got that taken care of, what
Right.
I needed that for. Get our numbers and stuff all straightened back out. The question I had though, when you said it, I never even looked at it, and then I stopped up there and said, hey, why didn't we have a past due balance of $252? She couldn't tell me. So, I don't know what happened, so if you will check that out, because she couldn't give me an explanation, she simply didn't pay. She said January, February, March, but that doesn't add up. So I think it was maybe a couple months and then maybe some late fees or something, but I don't think we've received a bill. So if you would look in the computer, did you look to see if there was anything paid out in those 2 months?
I
Like
did.
March and February, March?
I caught us up to date by paying
Okay,
some late fees. That
Yeah.
was in the first part of April.
which was this bill?
Wasn't $200 some down, yeah.
Cause she just shows a previous balance. Like I said, I would've never even noticed it, but, cause that wasn't even what I got the bill for. I got the bill cause I needed our mailing address and this physical address
Yeah, I would
to
check.
get a number. But yeah, just check that out because I know they changed their system. I wanna make sure we're getting our bills. Moving forward, I don't wanna have to pay, cause we're not supposed to pay late fees.
Right.
The gas company down at the building was sending the bill to the building, which there's no mailbox there. And they did that for 3 months, and I happened to go down there, building's rented, and there's a note on the door, they're gonna turn our gas off. We hadn't been getting the bills, $300 and some dollars. No, they didn't. So, I just wanna make sure that's not gonna happen here,
Sure.
so.
I know I paid the last sewer bill, caught us up to date, and we did receive a bill.
Okay. Cause the county's not doing the billing anymore. They've contracted that out with somebody else.
Okay.
So I don't know what the lady that was doing all the billing in the sewer department's doing now. Okay. It was brought to my attention about some bills, that you had there, Jenny. And you had questions about things. So you had asked me and Dan at the last meeting about getting a motion to buy you stuff. And then after that, you went out and purchased, called a locksmith and had him change the locks. I just need an explanation of why you did that. I mean, why didn't you contact the trustees to get approval to spend the money? I just need an explanation.
Well, I guess I honestly didn't know I needed to contact you. I should have contacted you in retrospect. I apologize for that. I was told by another fiscal officer that I am the record keeper. We have 2 filing cabinets that financial records were kept in. One of them, everybody seemed to know the key was hanging right here in this closet. That did not seem like a place to keep financial records, with everybody coming in, grabbing the key and getting in. Everybody, I mean, including employees, not just trustees and the fiscal officer. So I'm responsible for all financial records from 4/1 on, and wanted to make sure those were secure. The one filing cabinet definitely was not secure. And I didn't know who had keys to the other filing cabinet. So.
Yeah, we had just spent $70 the month before to get, because we only had the 2 keys for that cabinet.
The one in my office?
Yes, and Asa wanted a key and I wanted a key, so we had other keys made, and that's what I'm saying. If you would have just contacted us, I could have said, hey, you know, if you feel it's unsecure, you could take the key down, because there was a key hanging in there. I don't know why there was a key hanging in there for that cabinet. I understand why the key was in there for this cabinet, because the employees would get in there, put stuff in there, put receipts, pick their checks up, because they want their checks secure. So, just a question I had.
Sure.
So that's something that we need to get straightened out moving forward. And then there were some invoices that come in that some of our guys have signed. Didn't think that there was anything that you could find where there was something done to pay those. And I'll let Asa talk about that, because they did something years ago, long before I was ever a trustee. But
Yeah, we just established purchasing authority with 3 people.
for the fire department, yes.
And I've gone back probably 10 years, and I don't see anything about purchasing authority for.
Well, it was done back several years ago, probably shortly after Mark came to work. I don't remember just exactly when, but the motion was made that those 2 employees, those 2 full-time employees could buy, and I went with them to different businesses. They signed cards, I signed for them.
Yep, we were on the list.
They were on the list. We had 4, and then as they retired, I took them off the list. But they've had permission to buy, and they gotta have. They go out here and start to do a job and something breaks, they gotta be able to go buy a part, do whatever. Not come to a meeting a month later and ask for permission to go buy a part.
Right, so,
It's something we're gonna take care of tonight.
Good.
Because it needs to be done by resolution, not by motion.
Yeah.
So. I wanna make a resolution that Jeff Ratliff, which is our part-time employee at the cemetery, can spend up to $500. Mark and Kevin are our 2 full-time employees, so they need to have a higher limit. And I don't think anybody else should be spending money other than maybe one trustee. Aces usually at the garage every morning. So my resolution is for our new limit that the high revised code has changed. Used to be 2,500, now it's up to 10,000. So my resolution is that Asa, Kevin and Mark can spend up to $10,000 each for repairs, maintenance. If they gotta buy culvert pipes, if they gotta, whatever they gotta do. I mean, I know they went to Southeastern before to pick up parts and could be $6,000 in parts that they needed, and they're down, they can't do anything. So we can't wait for a meeting. If it's anything over $10,000, then it'll have to come to a meeting. So that's my resolution for the people that can spend moving forward.
So Dan Mason doesn't
I
have
need to be
purchasing
able to
authority?
get something with the weed eaters, the mowers down there, if they need something.
That's why I put,
Same way with, you know, I don't know if I really needed a resolution to get those, pavers, but I was here and we're gonna need them. So,
You didn't
I
say
think
Dawn,
all
you
of
said
us.
Jeff.
what's that?
You said Jeff, you didn't say Dawn.
Jeff, Dawn is no longer gonna be an employee.
Okay.
so I'd say all trustees need to be on there to be able to get something.
So you wanna make an amendment to my resolution
Sure,
and have me and you?
sure.
I don't wanna be on there.
So if we need something, you can't go pick it up?
Not gonna do her anymore, Dan.
Well, stick with
I've
your,
been accused of theft, and
stick with your
if I can't-
original,
if I can't control any money, I don't have to worry about it. I'll come here and sign checks, but
stick
I
with
can't
your,
buy nothing. And that's the way I'm gonna have it moving forward. If you wanna be on there, I'll make the amendment to the resolution to add Dan. But
No, I'll take off of it. We'll let Asa go.
So Mr. Boring and Jeff and
Jeff's only $500
Jeff's $500 and.
for stuff at the cemetery.
And Kevin and, Mark are 10,000.
And Ace's 10,000.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And what about my purchasing authority?
Bring it to me.
Isn't this what we're at right now?
Mhm.
So,
So at a meeting, you bring your stuff before the meeting and we'll approve it. That's what we've done in the past.
so obviously I'm new at this. When do I bring it today? Now?
Well, when we turn the meeting over for
Okay,
you, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So Kurt, you were first, Mr. Boring second, and all in favor?
Yeah, I want a roll call vote.
Pardon me?
I want a roll call vote.
Mr. Boring,
Here, yes.
Mr. Welch,
Yes.
Mr. Mason.
Yes.
All right, that takes care of that. Well, I don't have anything else other than the minutes, and we can talk about that after you get done, Jenny. Unless you want to talk about them before.
So right now, me, right?
Yep.
Thank you. First thing, I guess, is I would like to ask for additional training from a traveling fiscal officer, Tracy Kennedy. I spoke to, the auditor's office about it, and, they referred me to Emily, I can't remember her name.
This one?
Yes, and she's too busy. She's got kids that are in a lot of things. Amy is too busy. She's got kids that are involved in things. So, Emily referred me to another lady, Annette something.
Probably Shaw.
Yes, and she referred me to Tracy Kennedy. Tracy is with Wesley Township. So that's the first thing I would like to
I make
ask.
a motion that we, how many hours you need?
I don't know. I asked Tracy today, and she said there's really no.
We'll
No.
go into it. I'll make a motion that we allow 10 hours with Tracy Kennedy
Okay.
for training with Mr. Young. And at what rate does she charge?
She charges the same as we paid Amy, $25 an hour. And she charges travel too. at that hourly rate. So Mr. Boring is the first. Do we have a second? Dan or Kurt?
What was that? Need a second for that? I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And talking about minutes, there's a lot of minutes that are missing. I have a list. I don't know if you guys want to write it down because maybe you have copies of the minutes. I don't think so. I just don't believe the minutes were done because the minute pages that have been used in the past are sequential. And there's a couple that pages are missing. Most of the pages are in order, they just are not there. So I have 11 actually months of minutes that are missing, back to 2019.
We never had one meeting that we didn't approve the minutes. So I don't
either, because like I said, those logs are sequential.
Yeah.
If you'd taken one out, I did notice there is a couple missing, but I would say 9 out of the 11 are not there.
If I had to guess, they're probably in the boxes. They may have been pulled for a audit and didn't get put back in the book.
But they were never taken out of the book is what I'm saying. The book
Well, she
is,
may not have put them in the book. They may not have been typed on that page.
you don't think they were typed on, okay,
What I'm saying is we have minutes at every meeting
right.
and we approved them. So I know the minutes was done. I can't tell you why they're not in the book.
Okay,
If you wanna email me those,
Yeah.
I'll look through. I've got my minutes back from when I become a trustee, so
okay.
going on my working on the third term here, I got 2 boxes in the closet clear full of minutes.
Okay. The next thing I wanted to let everybody know what the real estate taxes came in at this year. They came in at, $419,649. Last year's were $393,128. And, there's a permissive tax. I don't know what that is. What's that for?
Permissive sales tax, it's tax they collect, for us. We can use it for, those are some of the kind of unencumbered type funds that we can use for anything to do related to roads, contracts, stuff of that nature.
Okay, that came in at $43,465. Last year was $37,727.
And they prefer us that they would like us to spend that money. They really don't like carryover
Okay.
out of that and gasoline tax.
Perm tax, I don't know what perm tax is either. It was at
Got me there.
$43,465 this year. It was at $37,727 last year.
Be permissive sales tax.
Permissive sales, okay.
Yeah. That's the permissive, the one you're talking about.
And then I got a manufactured mobile home tax that came in for $3,152. So I told you the STAR interest and the balance, the People's Bank interest for the month was $292, and the current balance is $861,719.
Is it still at 0.5% Peoples?
I'm not sure. I can look and see.
They did raise it from 0.25% to 0.5% when we told them we was taking money out to put in STAR.
Talking about checks, remember that Otarma check, right as soon as I started, that they said we didn't pay our liability. Well, somehow that check must have shown up. I reissued the check, so I need to void the check that I reissued. They mailed that check back. I called and said, you know, you told me it wasn't paid in March, but somehow it showed up, so.
Yeah.
That check did make it somehow.
So yeah, so the check was done
Yes.
originally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got your grant copies, the DNR guy sent that to me.
But what you signed was not the grant.
No, I signed what was called a resolution on the back page. He sent me the entirety of the grant, and I have that for a grant file. We are officially under audit. The auditors have almost everything they need.
You have the auditor's name and contact.
He is, I can give that to you. These are the things I don't have. But they've got all the records they wanted except for those things that are highlighted. They need, you can see on the back, they need a copy of our employee manual and policy. I've never seen one, so you guys just need to direct me to that. Do you have an employee handbook or policy?
We've got some rules, but we don't have a handbook, and we've got, some rules, but we don't have a lot. I don't know what they're asking for, and I don't know what they think they have to have, but we went through a lot of audits, and that's the first time I've ever had an ask for that.
Actually, that was asked for on the last audit because I looked at the last audit online.
I never saw it, never heard tell of it. We do have just actually what the employees' benefits are and who's responsible for what, and that's about it. We can give them a copy of that, and if they don't satisfy them, they just have to go jump in the lake, and I'm not gonna sit down and write an employee handbook, I can tell them that right now.
I have a copy, I have copies of employee handbooks.
You get carried away with that stuff too, you can just fool with these people time after time after time, and if all they want's more, they never are satisfied. They're just trying to make their own job look important.
I don't have your bonds. I think you guys switched. Didn't you switch in 22? I have your bond up until a certain point in 22, and then it quit, and then you got a new bond in 23. There's a year lapse that I don't have. And if you tell me who to ask, I will be happy to ask them and get that. But I don't know who had your bond last year, because they have to have that too.
We all got two same people. Do you remember when you got Dan?
I don't have anyone for 22 to 23. I have one this year from 23.
Did you say we're not bonded anymore?
It's a faithful promise, is what it's
Would
called.
be through Otarma.
Where was it in 22?
Through retirement.
Should have
It
been
was
through
through
Otarma
Otarma then
about
too?
when we went.
Okay, I will ask Otarma then. For some reason, there's copies of like old bonds and everything, but there's nothing for last year. on
Right, we
anybody.
used to have to get bonded, but when we switched to Otarma, and I'm thinking, did we switch in 22 to Otarma? Or 20?
21 or 22.
21 or 22. If you call Andy, he can tell you. Meet
And
you.
you were with him before that, but it was called a bond, and then they switched it to faithful performance.
Correct. But I don't know the bonding company that we were with.
Okay, I'll ask him and see if he knows. And it says I need your certifications. I can go, normally I can go online and pull that, I believe. I know I can for fiscal officers and see how many credit hours they have for training. I tried last night and couldn't, through the Ohio State Auditor website, pull. I have yours, Dan, and I have yours. I don't have yours for the public records. Is that the only thing you guys have to do?
Yes,
That's
that's,
what I
that's the
thought.
only thing we have to do.
So I have
And-
both of yours in your employee files.
And we have to do it once during our term. We can do it at the
And the reason
beginning,
you
we
don't
can
have
do it at
mine,
the
because
end.
I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it the last day I serve on in office, whenever that is.
Yeah, he does have till his last day in office to do it.
I'll just do that to aggravate the state, they keep wanting all this stuff.
Okay.
I got,
Next thing is we had a check return, because I think the person passed away and the account's probably closed. So I don't know how we collect on that.
I found the phone number, I will start working on that.
Okay, okay. And the next was sick and vacation payout. That's what the Oprah's lady asked me, so. Is there something, is there a policy somewhere on the sick and vacation payout that I can find somewhere?
I'll have to look, it would be in that, in those employee rules that we have. You wouldn't have it, it wouldn't be, I don't think Paula had it. She might have, but I doubt it.
She told me today.
We still got them down there in the file cabinet, don't we, Mark?
Yep.
Should they?
She told me today too, I have to get Gary West to sign a paper because he's an individual that is excluded from paying into OPERS on his 1099. So I have to get him to sign this form to turn into OPERS. And if we ever have an individual that comes to work for us that gets a 1099, not a company, they have to fill out this form for OPERS too, saying they're excluded from paying into OPERS. And the ARP funds, so there's a report that was supposed to be filled out on the 30th of April. Paula emailed me the other day showing the emails back and forth with her on the ARPA funds. And they are asking about the ARPA funds and do we have any? When I pulled a report, it looked like we had $900 some at the end of 23.
That was taken care of, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you about that. I thought those were spent, but
Make sure I got everything.
I don't have that, but I'm pretty sure that was taken care of. Cause I know there was like $147,900 and some dollars, and there was a little bit left that had to be spent or sent back, and we spent it. We sent nothing back. I don't think I have that with me.
Okay, so my last thing, I guess, is purchasing authority for me. I would like to ask for purchasing authority of, I guess, $500. I need copy paper, I'm in need of stamps.
Would that be enough to get you through with what you need? Because sometimes I need ink at the cemetery office, I need copy paper.
trying to think of what else I need. So I need, some of that stuff, I guess I'll just get it from you, so, if a, copier breaks, you'll go buy it, Asa?
Huh,
If a copier breaks for the cemetery office,
You can take one of these spare ones in here.
does it do?
We got
legal?
3.
We got 3 of them, okay,
Yeah,
when
they
I
do
got the
legal.
last one, okay.
They do legal.
Um,
Well, I don't know if they're still in there. We got 3 of them.
okay,
Yeah, and it does legal.
so I usually come and raid the cupboards when I'm usually down there at the cemetery office.
Well, how much spending authority did you get Paula?
We didn't give her any.
Okay,
She would come before the meeting if she needed stuff and said, I need to order paper, I need to order ink. So,
I don't think that's the most efficient way for me. You guys,
I'd like to see you get $1,000, that way if we need something, you can get it taken care of. So I'd like, is that a resolution for Jenny to be able to purchase up to $1,000 for office supplies, which sometimes I need down at the cemetery office also.
who buys the paper supplies for here?
Paul,
You always, the fiscal officer always did. Pens,
Toilet paper, paper towels.
yeah, that's, so it's probably needs to be higher than 500, cause ink can be very expensive.
Well, and we have to buy a certain kind of ink too,
Yeah, okay,
because UN will not support the printer unless I buy
okay,
what they tell me.
okay. Cause I know sometimes ink can be $100. So
So Dan,
that is my resolution for Jenny to be able to buy
Mr.
office
Warren,
supplies for the township.
I'm gonna, say I'd like to table that until we talk to Nicole. See what she says.
Do we
so someone
have
needs to
enough
buy
supplies
stamps.
to
No.
get through for the next month?
No, I do not. I'm on my last ream of paper and my last thing of stamps, so maybe Mark wants to go buy me stamps, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna need, some paper down in the, cemetery office.
so your resolution is for her only to be able to buy office supplies.
Yeah, office supplies, sounds like she needs to buy toilet paper supplies and,
And she asked for 500 and you wanna give her.
yeah, because if I need ink, if she needs ink and I need ink, we're gonna,
Yeah, I don't know how much I need. I can tell you that in 22, Paula had $1,100. 23, she had almost 1,000. 961.67, and in 24 already in 3 months she did $326. So that's should give you some idea.
Is that $1,000 a month or $1,000 for the year? What are you doing here?
I won't need $1,000 a month.
well, will $1,000 a year do it?
Well, she was in 22, she was at 1,100, so. I'm not the one to ask because I haven't had enough time to look at every single thing she bought. So, you guys know what she bought more than I do.
Right. Okay, we'll go for a year, and if we need more, we can revisit this, can't we?
$1,000 a year.
Yes.
Well, no. Because if you do, you gotta go back and you can't make an amendment to a resolution. You have to do away with that resolution and start another one.
So Jeff can only buy $500 of that a year, and on his.
And he hits that, he's maxed out. He'd have to come here to get any more money and bring it to the meeting.
Or he could come to me or Mark or Kevin and we can get it for him.
What I'm saying is, resolutions you can't just amend and change. They could bring it before the board and say, hey, you know, if Jenny gets to October and she's out of money, you know, she can say, hey, I'm out of money. We need stamps, we need envelopes,
Make another resolution.
and we can give her money then.
Yeah, cause you're gonna have a bunch of stamps with all the, postage you have.
Cause I had no stamps at all.
So it better go to $2,000 for the year then, because how many,
Well, you haven't got a second to your resolution.
okay, we're almost in June, $1,000 for the rest of this year. And that will get stamps.
So to get us, what I suggest, because Ace wanted to table it, we can't
I'll
table it.
remove my table.
Yeah, because we have to conduct business. And until we get further counsel, I guess, from our legal counsel at the next meeting, I'll make a motion, not a resolution. And there's a big difference between the two. That you can spend up to $500 this month to acquire office supplies, paper, stamps, things that you need to perform your job.
Okay.
And then we'll revisit this at the next meeting.
For this month,
Yeah.
I will second that.
That is all I have.
Okay. So, to the minutes. So, I had you call an emergency meeting, which was not the proper term. It shouldn't have been an emergency meeting, it should have been a special meeting. We conducted some business in that meeting other than the sole purpose that we had called the meeting, which was to talk about employees. So everything that we conducted in that meeting, after talking about employees, is all null and void. So we gotta go through that and redo that stuff tonight. Is that correct? That was the email I got from Nicole.
I
That you
wasn't,
had sent.
I wasn't copied on her response, so I don't know.
So the motion you made, Asa, about the reimbursement or the paying the contractor for fixing the slip is no good. And then your reimbursement for your mileage, your grant mailing and your medication, which I'm assuming you're tabling till the next meeting, but.
Can I ask a question about mileage as well? Do you have a mileage policy?
We do.
Is it out of township you're paid, in township you're not?
That's in the highway department code.
That's what I thought. So, when you get mileage, I have to turn in mileage for twice going up to the courthouse. Where does my mileage begin? I understand from everybody, other fiscal officers, my mileage begins at the end of the township one. Is that right? Is Is that the way yours is here?
I don't think we ever
Mileage
determined
begins
that.
at home.
Yeah, I don't think we ever determined that your mileage started at the township line or it started from your house.
If you go from your house to the courthouse and back, that's the mileage. If you go to the courthouse and come back and stop at the grocery store, that ends your mileage.
Yeah, so the way that it's been done in the past, the mileage, if you're conducting business outside the township, it was from the time when you leave, go to wherever, whatever township business it is you're taking care of. And then as long as you're coming straight back, that's your, so let's just say it was 23 miles for you to drive from your house to the courthouse. Then that's what you would pay coming back. Now, if you went to Parkersburg and shopped and whatever, you would only get to 23 miles. That's the way it's been done in the past. Now, is that the right way? I can't tell you.
Well, I can tell you the way it's done where I work. And I don't know how the other townships, I know the other townships told me basically outside the township is where it begins for them. At Ohio University, mine's from my home base, from where I work on Richland Avenue. Whether people leave from their homes or not to travel wherever, it doesn't matter. It has to be from your home base. So that's why I wondered if ours was like that or not.
How do you guys do it, Mark?
In township or out of township. We do it both.
So
Because-
does your mileage start at the township line?
No, it starts from home. It starts from home, and ours also pays in township as well. So if we were to go, when dust control's getting ready to come around, and Terry went around to all the houses and said,
Yeah.
look, dust control's getting ready, that's a lot of miles he put on his vehicle, so
Yeah.
we have that policy in place. It doesn't get used very often at all, but it is available, because that's a lot.
We've never done in township since I've been a trustee, so.
We do.
I guess my question would be just ask, we'll try to get a consensus of if you're doing townships, and then we'll make sure when Nicole's here, that's just another question to ask her, to
Okay.
make sure we're doing it right. You know? So. I guess that's that on those minutes. So the other minutes,
What date are you talking about?
so we'll go back to the minutes on the 8th.
Okay.
There's a lot of things in the minutes, and I don't want to sit down here and critique every little thing. What I would like you to do is go back and listen to the Facebook Live.
I did.
There's things, is the minutes that you give me tonight different than the minutes you emailed me?
Yes, because Dan was the only one that responded to my email saying he had edits. So I made Dan's edits, and they were very simple. It was this one kid that we just hired, I had his name spelled wrong. And I think I said cemetery, what did I say, Dan? I said cemetery something, and it was supposed to be cemetery rules. I don't
Yeah,
remember-
it
I
was
don't
on
remember
the
what it was.
headstone company that was wanting a copy of the rules. I forget what it was now.
So I have no doubt that my very first regularly scheduled meeting, I did not say all in favor when I was supposed to. Caught that by listening to Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So you tell me the edits and I can check them out.
Okay. Yeah, there's things that we talked about that you don't have on these minutes.
Well, and minutes are not supposed to be inclusive of everything said.
That's true.
What I'm told by the OTA is minutes are supposed to be something somebody could outside could walk in, pick up, and figure out what was discussed. And most of the minutes is supposed to be motions made or resolutions made. Who did the first, who
Okay.
did the second.
So about seasonal employees, you have here, it'll be on page 3. You have here where it says Jenny asked personal seasonal hires if they could all be held back 2 weeks of pay. That was not what was said during the meeting. That was said later on.
Okay.
I didn't make the motion to do that, Dan did, and I seconded it, but you have it that I made the motion and Dan seconded it.
Okay.
We didn't vote on that at all, so that motion's no good. So you proposed, it says bi-weekly payroll for our hourly employees and submitted in the schedule. What you said was you proposed bi-weekly payroll for everyone, which would take in the fire department. So I've talked to Josh about that, and if you want to change theirs to bi-weekly, they need to know.
I
Because
don't want to.
Because they have a software update they're gonna have to do.
That was the first proposal. No, I don't want to.
On the tape, you said you wanted to, that's what I'm saying, on Facebook Live, you said that you wanted to change the EMS to bi-weekly. But that's not what's in the minutes.
That's when you guys decided to table anything about changing payroll until Mr. Warren got back the next month.
And so that brings me to my next question, so then what changed that? Because I thought that's where we was. That we was tabling on the employees and changing anything about how we paid.
That was when I thought it was up to a trustee vote and was told differently.
Okay. And then, on the last page is where Dan, at the top, says Dan agreed the employees, should not turn in time sheets before, and then that's when he mentioned that he wanted to hold the 2 weeks. That was added in up earlier, so that wasn't in his motion from before. The motion that you had me down as I done, but Dan actually made the motion.
If you have your minutes marked up, I'll gladly take them and I can check it out.
So, and then there was a motion to pay bills, but it wasn't on there. It wasn't on the original.
Like I said, I have no doubt my very first regular meeting, I
It's
didn't
not
do
on
everything
this.
right. But thank you for bringing that to my attention.
So, the motion that was made about the employees, Dan, is no good, so we're gonna have to redo that.
Which one,
Well, the EFTs,
all new hires to be held back 2 weeks
The-
time?
your seasonal hires,
And would receive
well,
EFT?
Yeah.
At the bottom of 3, that we were talking about.
I'm talking about right here,
What page is that?
second page, third page. Jenny asked about the seasonal hires, if they could be held back 2 weeks.
Right.
So that's where I guess that's where we're gonna have an issue on everything, and we're probably gonna have to wait for Nicole to come, because, the way we're doing EFTs right now is not legal. So we're gonna have to suspend all EFTs until our legal counsel is here. We're gonna have to do checks moving forward until she can be here, because the Ohio Revised Code says that EFTs can only be done by resolution of the Board of Trustees. And I know we have not done a resolution to do EFTs.
You haven't done resolutions on a lot.
So let me ask you a question, that you're talking about,
That's,
paid
That's
part-timers
everybody.
for the fire department?
that's everybody, I I don't wanna do that, but that's just what's gonna have to be for now. We're gonna have to do checks until Nicole's here at the next meeting, so we can work through all these issues and get it so it's right. Cause we want it to be right. You know, Jenny brought it to our attention that the way the payroll had been done for our full-time employees was incorrect. It's been done that way for 36 years that Ace has been a trustee.
27 that I've been here.
And the 27 he's been here. So, and we agree with that. We don't wanna do something that's wrong. And then by that, I did a lot of reading after our meeting that day. And the EFTs and all the electronic transfers, none of that can be done. It has to be done by a resolution of the Board of Trustees that they have to agree to do that. So we're gonna have to do checks.
So I guess my question is, hey, that's not our battle, right? We just need to get our employees
Well,
paid.
it's not a battle with us either. We just need to, I wanna make sure Nicole's here so that moving forward, we can move forward together as one unit and work together.
Yeah, and
I don't want all the back and forth. We have to get along and we have to work together, so.
My only concern is we've got a lot of employees that depend on that paycheck. And right now, it's electronically deposited. There's pretty carefree. I understand what you're saying. I'm just asking you to help us to make sure our guys get paid on time.
Yes, well,
That's the thing I'm concerned about.
your guys are okay at this point because they got a 2-week lag time. So that's not an issue. Their time can be turned in, they'll get paid, they'll have their money before that it should have been put into the account.
Okay.
So that's not an issue. Yeah.
That reminds me of something else I did forget to bring up, and it was payroll related too. In the past, payroll, when payroll's been done for employees that receive overtime, they are not supposed to receive overtime for hours that are not worked. So if you call off sick, for example, you do not get paid overtime unless there are 40 hours worked in that week and your sick hours. So that's something that's not been done correctly.
I've never turned in overtime when I wasn't there working overtime.
You turned in overtime, you or Kevin, I don't remember which one turned in overtime on this pay, and I looked back in January, there was overtime paid out as well for sick hours that were counted in the 40 to get the overtime, and that's not.
So is that in the revised code?
It is in the revised code, and it's in the Fair Labor Standards Act, Department of Labor.
Okay. We'll make sure you bring that to the next meeting then,
I will.
when Nicole's here, so you can get that hashed out too.
Yeah, I've never turned in.
I know, but you can go back and look at your.
I look at my time sheets.
Mark, what she's saying is, if you take Monday off sick pay,
Okay.
and you work the rest of the week, but then you go ahead and work on Saturday, Monday does not count toward your 40 hours to get overtime. Sick day doesn't count toward your 40 hours.
And it has been paid that way in the past because I looked.
Okay, I thought you were saying I was turning in
No.
overtime on a sick day. I've
No,
never,
no,
ever
no.
done that.
No, what she's saying is if if we use Kevin, because Kevin was off,
Correct,
he come in and worked a burial that Saturday.
yes.
He turned in overtime, which is what he thought he supposed to do. But he doesn't have 40 hours, he didn't actually work 40 hours, I know what she's saying. So because that was sick days, I don't know how many days he had, whether it was 2 days, 3 days, even if it's 1 day, that's not.
Even though those hours are covered,
Huh?
even though those hours are covered by sick or vacation or anything?
Because he didn't actually work them. That's what you're saying, right? Because he didn't actually work them, yes.
Excess of
But
40
no,
hours worked.
vacation's different.
But vacation, I was gonna say
Yeah, if
vacation.
you're on vacation,
Right.
and I call you out to do something, then you get overtime for that.
Okay. Well, that's all I had. Anything else?
Good done.
What about the 3
Oh, wait a minute, Mark has,
Yeah, I do. Like I said, as far as the timesheets, I don't have any idea. I went ahead and there's ones that I turned in, and there they are. Ace has signed them. Kevin's not here to redo it. I don't see any need in recopying it on another paper. It's the exact same thing, and I have these moving forward.
Yeah, that's fine, you just have a day on here and a day
And
on
see,
the
I
last
don't
one.
understand that.
No.
I don't understand where my 2 weeks goes.
It's hard to understand. You've never had to follow a different pay period than what you're being asked to.
27 years I've been paid the same way.
That's why I printed this out for you to take at the last meeting, you didn't wanna
I
take.
don't wanna be paid different than I've been paid.
This was to inform you of your pay dates.
But see, that doesn't have to be voted on by the trustees or anything?
No, sir.
Okay. That's all I have.
I'm good.
Before you-
Go ahead.
We have to have a motion to pay the bills that we have.
I'll make the motion, pay the bills we have.
That's what I did.
Oh, I'll second it then. I
That's what
thought you said we
I-
need to have
I-
one,
I said,
okay.
I'm gonna make the motion to pay the bills that we have.
So we're gonna change all of them.
Wait till next meeting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
You second, all in favor?
Aye.
Take that out.
And then, we've had a chance to look at these applications, and you guys, I mean, I'll make the motion that we're gonna go by your guys'
They were
recommendations. You
recommended.
guys have,
Yeah.
you've interviewed them.
Interviewed all
I'll make the
three of them.
motion to hire these as volunteers,
Yeah, they're all volunteer.
put them on as volunteers.
I'll second it.
Probably want the names of them. Or did you already write it down?
No, sorry, Kurt made the motion and Dan seconded.
I'll second.
Both of us.
All in favor?
Aye.
So Jenny, that is our, online version of the application. And I saw where you sent the, paperwork, like the initial paperwork to us in a PDF. So now that they're voted on, we'll have them fill those, the township application and, the tax information won't matter to them, but, anything that applies, then I'll get it back to you for all three of them.
So just make sure that Carrie gets her the paperwork for the time as soon as she can, so that way she has time to get the checks done.
Okay, yeah, I think we're gonna, I think I read this right, you wanted it 3 days after the pay period ends, which is about, we were doing it within that first week, so that should be good.
And that was something I talked with Josh about too. So you had asked about, I guess when we're talking about that, why we had held 2 weeks on them. That was what they had decided, because at the time we was paying the 15th and the 30th, right? And they wanted a lag in pay. So they just went with 2 weeks. There's no reason why we can't change that to 1 week, right?
Well, it's actually, the 15 days or 16 days, whatever, the only reason we did that was we had to turn it in, you know, ahead of time of when it actually pays out. So if we would have been like real time, we wouldn't have known what was going to happen in those last 3 days or whatever. So if we had a second squad run or a fire run, we would have had to amend it. That's why we just started all employees with that 1 pay period lag. And actually, we had one employee resign like back probably I'd say August last year, and so he questioned like how that payout would be. He got another paycheck 2 weeks or 15 days after he quit because he was 2 weeks behind or 15 days behind.
Yeah.
And I will say that this way we're set up now, we're in it a year now. We started part-time middle of May last year, and it's been pretty trouble-free. Employees, I think, are all satisfied, and other than Josh and Carrie having to do the stuff that they send in, it's really been pretty trouble-free.
I've heard nothing but good out of everything we're doing, so that's what we want.
Well, I wanna make a comment about Mark and Kevin. Because I don't care what the Ohio Revised Code, and I care or anybody else says, when you take people's money and you won't pay them for the time that they've worked, that's stealing. I don't care what anybody, if I work for you 40 hours and you won't give me 40 hours pay, that's stealing. Now, I don't know what you do with this money that you hold back, but here's a for instance, you take $1,500 from Kevin, and you hold it, and he works another 20 years. If he put that $1,500 in stocks or savings or anything else, he would probably triple his money or more by the time he retired. So as far as I'm concerned, you're not only stealing 2 weeks' pay, you're stealing what he could accumulate with that money. That's not right. I don't care if the High Revised Code is, I don't care if the president says it ain't right. That's stealing. It ain't nothing but stealing. Now, I don't care, you can't argue with me that taking money from somebody that's earned it and not paying them.
And that's where I'm at with this. I've got paid the same way for the last 27 years, and now all of a sudden, 2 weeks, I'm gonna have to die or retire before I'm gonna see those 2 weeks.
Right. And right now, of course, you guys don't know Kevin's circumstances, but right now that hits him pretty darn hard. I will tell you a little bit. Kevin's got a 10-year-old boy that's fighting brain cancer. He just went through an 11-hour surgery, and Kevin's needing every penny he can get to run to Columbus and back and do all this other stuff. And now we take 2 weeks pay away from him. Not right. I don't care what it is, just not right morally or legally, I don't think. That's all I got to say on that. I think it's stealing, and
I don't think it's funny either.
So you're gonna do checks until we have our next meeting, correct? No more EFTs. Just wanna make sure we're all on the same page here.
I don't know that we're on the same page, but I will check it out. I have, payables checks right here for you now.
And we're gonna need to see them to sign them.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay them. And you're not going to do you say you're not going to do the checks that we approved for Markham County? Is that what you said?
I said I will not sign a $17,000, $500 check. Correct.
So you're not gonna sign that check, so. You wanna go through them, Lisa, so we can look at them? We made a motion to pay bills, but we really didn't know what the bills was, I guess. And so you're gonna continue to do EFTs then?
I can tell you that everybody's payroll is done this time, except for Mark and Kevin.
Okay. What are you doing the next payroll?
Whatever the prosecuting attorney and state auditor's office advises me to do.
Okay. Well, if they advise you of anything other than what I've already said, they're breaking the law, because there is no resolution unless you can come up with a resolution that we as trustees have passed to do EFTs, and there's not one.
I told you I can't find resolutions and I can't find minutes, so I know I've not seen anything with that.
So then that means it would be illegal if you do it. So did you not pay the Shelley bill that was turned in before, and the Smith Concrete bills?
Those have already gone out, yes.
Okay, so here's another question, so you know moving forward. You put this emergency meeting, in the paper, it doesn't have to be in the paper. The only reason it has to be in the paper is if the paper has contacted us to request when our meetings are. So yearly, you put it in the paper. Special meetings or emergency meetings don't have to be, you don't have to contact the paper.
What's the difference between special meeting and emergency meeting in your mind?
So what I read and what Nicole told me was an emergency meeting is if there's, we have an employee, a major employee issue that there's something going on, employee related. We have a road collapse, we have a culvert collapse, we have a bridge collapse, stuff of that nature. Special meetings can be called for anything. I mean, we can call a special meeting whenever we want. We can call a special meeting every week. We just have to say what we're gonna do in that meeting. And that's the only business we can conduct, whether it's an emergency meeting or a special meeting. That's what she told me.
Okay.
Yeah, by the revised code, you could call a special meeting every week. You just have to say what it is. You post it on the door, we're having a special meeting on Thursday, the 26th at 4:00
On this door only?
Yep. On our office door. And we need to have on there what we're going to discuss in the special meeting. And then that's the only business we can conduct.
I think unless there's people who want to request to be known if there's a special meeting, you have to contact them.
If somebody's sending in a public record request to know about every meeting, that's why you don't have to contact the paper.
Josh, what is this e-schedule?
That's our payroll software and scheduling. That's
You wanna sign this?
the check or
The
the?
bill?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, I can.
No, you can't have it,
Yeah.
Jack.
I'm like, I don't think I'm allowed to do that.
Ain't gonna give you the check.
It's on the backside. That's the yearly, like, service agreement or whatever you wanna call it. Yep.
And that's what you would have to change if we went to
Yeah,
software for that, if we went to bi-weekly.
yeah, just, I mean, usually they're pretty responsive, but I would say a week would be plenty. Normally it's like within 1 or 2 business days, but. Like something like that. That was in a PDF that they sent. Would you rather me basically edit that PDF and sign it and then email it, like forward it that way? Or how
I
would
would
you?
rather have invoice copies, paper copies,
So like me print it out and then sign it and then just drop it off. Okay.
please.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause that wasn't received at all, even in the old email for Belpre Township.
Oh, from them, you mean? Yeah.
It just wasn't there.
Okay.
And I found a couple others like that.
But you said you already contacted them, that particular one there, right? That's already been changed? E-schedule?
Yes.
Okay.
No, sign that.
No more business? Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.